let me keep my watch with me.
So we've given you 35 minutes. 15-20 minutes is too short a time.
Okay, just a minute. Sorry about this.
Okay, so while he connects, this Dr. Mani is a fantastic speaker. I have seen so many of his videos where he talks, and it is goosebump moments. So I'm very, very, very honored and
No, I like unfortunately for you, all of you, I like the sound of my voice, and it's always prudent to keep the timer on when I'm speaking. So let me do it for myself. And we are at 14:05. Thanks for starting absolutely in time. So as I said, some takeaways. Not 35 minutes. I would like to revisit the slides if required through the question and answers. So let me start. First of all, I think there was a flyer made by Dr. Raghunandan. So some of you have looked at me. An audience usually come looking for the speaker to look funnier. But I'm sorry, I cannot be looking funnier than I am already am. Sorry, Mr. Sinclair. Another good thing is that this, if you're not calling it webinar, but this interaction is online, because you see, you're all accomplished people, and to expect that you will listen to me patiently just because I have a story to tell is like expecting that a bull is not going to charge you just because you are a vegetarian. Somebody asked Einstein once that if the human mind is so developed that it can decipher an atom, how is it that the same mind is unable to stop that atom from destroying us? So Einstein, as you know, would have given some answer, I don't know. But the summary, the essence of this answer was that unfortunately the human mind is still much smaller than human vanity. We are in Amrit Kal, which means that by the time Amrit Kal ends, which is 2047, it's a question of whether India is going to be a developed country. So, ladies and gentlemen, for me, and I'm sure for most of you, it's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. When before 2047, India is going to be a prosperous, inclusive country with a global influential footprint. So let me start with these wonderful words of the people's president, APJ Abdul Kalam. The dream is not the thing you see in sleep, but is that thing that doesn't let you sleep. At the same time, if some of you have read The Merchant of Venice by Shakespeare, Portia at one stage says that if to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, if to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches and poor man's cottages, princesses' palaces. It's not really my place to come and lecture as to what needs to be done. I would only regulate myself to whatever little I've been able to do with the help of a competent, excited team that I was always fortunate enough to be bequeathed with. Proof of the pudding, as I like to call it, and from that story, some takeaways, as I told you. Well, Indian Railways, love it or hate it, is an institution that you cannot ignore in India. And I come to you as a railway man for life. 4 years of engineering training with railways, 38 years nearly in railways, and 5 years since retirement. Railways is definitely my love for life, and I am a railway man for life. As I said, no cock and bull is going to work, but some caveats would. So one is, of course, I'm not a great speaker, unlike, in spite of what Dr. Raghunandan says, I only borrow a lot from wisdom down the ages. That is I call them my poet uncles, Shakespeare, Ghalib, Kabir. So the oldest one is 65 years old, 66, 50 years old, and my English uncle more than 400 years old, and so on. And I said, there is a time regime, so I cannot go long and winding, but there is a Q&A. Nevertheless, I am a railway man for life, remember. So I have an inherent right to be derailed. Any attempt to derail me is not going to work. And the last caveat, you see, so I thought it would be mainly Q&A, but still I've been called to speak, so I would. But it's the same old wine in new bottle, same terroir, same body, same tannin. But I do recount it with the belief that, you see, wine of this story is like men. Men, mostly, most of us mature with age. We don't turn to vinegar. And so I hope this wine of this story has also not turned to vinegar, but it still has something you are going to like. So let me begin what I call my quasi-Sarkari talk. There is something about leadership which I will draw upon. I'm just showing the slide here in the beginning. It is possible, always, just believe in it, that you can strongly drive for results. Even as you treat everyone, mind you, everyone, with empathy and respect. I mean, you don't need to be this guy on the top left or this guy on the bottom right who's left only treating with lovey-dovey respect for everyone, not driving for results and so on. Another thing is, how do we define success? Success is defined, unfortunately, by an outcome of value. And what I say, if whatever you do, not engineering, anything, if you have given your passion, your commitment, your hard work, your everything to the job you're doing, in my view, you have succeeded. The outcome may not be favorable, may be a failure, but all those failures are nothing but learnings which will eventually take you to success. Now, this is something that you've heard from others as well. I'm only saying it because that fear of that outcome being favorable keeps us from attempting. Always remember, I'll come back to that. But that fear of that outcome should not drive us. Instead, our commitment, our passion, our hard work should drive us. Success would be yours someday, definitely. It is also a story of design thinking in retrospect, not by design, because we went around seeking empathy from stakeholders other than ourselves as to what was the requirement in terms of a new modern train in India. Then define it, ideate, build a prototype, and test. So Indian Railway story, as you know, let's not waste time here, except some data, and that is 8.5 billion passengers, which means everyone on earth travels Indian Railways once a year. And the freight share, which used to be 89%, has come down to as low as 28%. Railways are a clean, green mode of transport, 1/6 to 1/8 cleaner than road and air. And therefore, in Amrit Kal, this 28% has to grow to 40-45% to reduce our logistics costs and bring it down to level of 8-10%, which is there in all developed world. To that extent, railway is at a springboard for quantum growth today. Some of these takeaways, I said, one of the takeaways is we heard of Make in India, came COVID, it was rejigged into Atmanirbhar, self-reliance. It was expected that these lions of Make in India would roar into self-reliance, Atmanirbharta. The government did come up with, schemes like collateral-free loans, liquidity infusion, pocket in the money in the pocket of people, and so on. I don't understand because it's all about finance and economics. But what I do understand is that we are stuck between being mindlessly global and hopelessly local. The truth lies somewhere close to being local because when I say local, I mean your own creation. Your own creation means something that you create, good or bad, big or small, is something which you do with ownership and pride. And that can drive you to do 110, 120, 125% more than what you are otherwise capable of. That's the spirit of Atmanirbharta to my mind. Let's see what has happened in railways. Like everything that has come through a transfer of technology. That means we manufacture here after transfer of specification, drawings, protocols, everything. But the brains, the design was done outside. Creator was sitting outside. We were merely following the instructions given on paper. And that is why, even after decades, we are not able to manufacture it to the level, to the standard we imported. I'm sure many of you are not able to follow Hindi Urdu, but I have to go with this couplet which says, "Mere शेर आईना खाने में तेरी बेशुमार अदाओं के, मगर ऐसी भी है कोई अदा जो रहेगी सीना ए राज में." What it means, I can go poetic about your beauty, but there is some aspect of your beauty which will remain buried in the recesses of my heart, and you are not going to get access to that. And that's why you must have that restlessness to create your own. And that restlessness comes from seeking peace. Another couplet by the same poet is, "Shajar hajar ka jumud hasti payam ibrat hai ghafilon ko, jise talashe sukoon nahi hai." The one who is not looking for peace. Jise talashe sukoon nahi hai, bhala wo kya beqarar hoga. So that restlessness leads to peace, and that to create something with ownership and pride, but that essentially needs something, and that is also very simple, and that is, as a leader, you are a leader. It doesn't matter how many people report to you. It doesn't matter how many people, nobody reports to you. As long as you're dealing with human beings, you are a leader, and you must start. All these things you need, but you need also to love what you do, love the people you work with, love the organization you work for. If you can't, then better quit, unless it's a serious bread and butter issue, because you are doing a great disservice to yourself and the organization by sticking to something you don't love to do. एक लफ्ज़ से मोहब्बत का अदना ये फसाना है. This word love has this brief story. सिमटे तो दिले आशिक, ठहले तो जमाना है. You can win the world if you start with love. It's not human to love everyone. So as a leader, you have to create it. You have to construct it, contrive it, because I don't know what's going to happen with AI and so on. But as of now, your primary resource is your human resource. For me, it was easy because this is the organization I worked for, and you know that scramble for that window seat as the marvel, the magic of India passed you by. Desolate here, crowded there, pathos, mourning, celebration, joy, hard work, grind, indolence, sloth, rivers, mountains, valleys, whatnot. The journey itself became the destiny and the objective, not the destination. And as you peep behind an open door, which are still possible in our trains, unlike the train I'm going to talk about, as you look at the snaking train, it can still give you goosebumps. And a railway station is still a place, unlike a bus station or an airport, where the richest to the poorest stand next to each other to catch the same train. But I'm not here to talk about that romance. I'm here to talk about this. And this was when I was talking about restlessness, beqarari. That was the angst I always had, even before joining railways, all through my service in railways as a junior officer. That why is it that in spite of such a large workforce, such a large group of engineers, we don't, the image of our trains remains the same for decades. More AC coaches, some technology here and there and so on. But the recall, the image remains same. Why not a modern, aesthetically superior, speedier, technologically more advanced train, as I would see in magazines in early 1970s. This was the angst and also a dream which drove the story. Uh, Remember that change alone is truly permanent in any organization. And we have to look beyond this love I talked about. So this is the picture of Integral Coach Factory set up in 1955. And what you see, the gentleman you see in the center wrote in the visitor's book, he's Chow Enlai, Premier of China, that every Orient should be proud of this factory. And I would like Chinese engineers to come to India, to Chennai, and learn from these people how to make coaches. And where have we reached today? Because of railwaymen like me who did not support the dream, the vision, only doing more of the same. This is where we have reached. Unfortunately, bad taste. It says, before Krum Indian Überholt China in a German magazine. It means population, India overtakes China. And look at the picture. Bad taste. But we have to ask why. Why is it that we have reached here? And why is it that Sam Altman comes to India and says, it's completely hopeless for you to challenge us, but it is still your responsibility to make an attempt. And we have to think our own as to why we are here. Think of, I have written something, hierarchical culture, harping on the past, lack of scientific thinking, copy-paste ethos, lack of a free society, and so on. You can have your own answers, but we have to pause and look as to why we have reached here and how do we get out of this in Amritkal to be a developed country making its own products, making its own engineered products, creating its own products and selling it for the world, not for India alone. One of the things very easy in a government organization, unfortunately, which I was asked to lead the ICF when I asked for and was afforded the opportunity, was to break down the barriers and the hierarchical working which has been bequeathed to us by the British, and we have not shed it, is in the same organization. We have these propriety, hierarchy, walls, boundaries, so on. It was so easy to simply break them and all 12,000 of them put in that family tree you see on the top left. I'll not go into other instances and we'll come to it if required. But basically, it's not difficult at all for a leader. Only a bit of empathy and openness, and you can build such bonds and get 110% of the people who can work as a team. There is a bit about intolerance. Love is fine, but intolerance for discipline. And that is to set right that 2-3% in any organization who would not work. 25% are self-motivated. Don't try to motivate them. They are self-motivated. You can only demotivate them by trying to motivate them. Just a pat on the back. 65% look at these 2-3% if there is a punishment for not working or there is a premium for working. And your job, and I say this as a government leader, is to throw them out. Either reform or chuck them out. No punishment. Don't punish somebody, don't, and then keep him in the organization. He'll always be a backyard. Either reform fully or chuck him out. And we were able to do in ICF. In 2.5 years, we were able to throw out 165 people, mind you. Some were taken back, but mercy comes later. First, show your fangs. Every man has ideas, but we follow the German and the Japanese model where something the leader likes is pushed down and then emerges as idea of those working for him. You cannot command, demand, cajole, dismiss, ridicule, patronize. You have to encourage it. Simply give it a platform. Listen. We speak a lot, listen a little. Let me tell you, whatever little I've been able to do in my life is not through any of my own ideas. Rarely. It all came through listening to people and stealing, in a way, their ideas. Because everyone has ideas, they've worked there long enough for you. And those ideas, you may or may not like them, but listen and adopt the idea that comes from below you or your colleagues. And the ideas which come from top, they are only for listening. Let me tell you, ideas from those grassroots level, those are the ideas which will take you far. Another caveat, our government system, which has percolated even to private sector, I'm sure not to Dr. Raghunandan's organization, but it's predicated on mistrust and distrust of its leaders. Look at the irony. When the when the British ruled us and Indians started coming in positions of power and authority, they were not to be trusted. So all the rigmarole of rules, regulations, audit, vigilance, this is all the net around you, just to make sure that untrustworthy Indian does not go astray. Fair enough. 70 years have passed since independence, 75 years. We have not shed that system. Especially in government, we work in a system of mistrust and distrust. Okay, so where has it taken us? Has the corruption gone down? It has increased. All of you would agree. So what am I saying? I'm saying give trust a chance. You lived with mistrust and distrust of your own appointed leaders. Just one example. So the two key people, chief design engineer electrical and chief design engineer mechanical, while we were going to make this train from ideation concept to engineer, design and engineer, manufacture, test, prove out everything in 18 months. So we said, whatever the chief design engineer, electrical or mechanical decides, we are going to make just two trains, two prototypes. Whatever he decides, whatever component he wants, whichever source he wants, his decision is final. The GM, the HODs, everyone, finance, stores, procurement guy, everyone is a mere signatory. He will own it. He can get it from a single source, multiple sources, advertised tendering, open tendering, whichever way he wants. It's all his decision. And that was one of the reasons, because we placed that trust in these two gentlemen, that 5,000 plus parts of the supply chain came in way of delays to some extent, but never came in way of the project getting derailed. In 18 months, we were able to source all these 5,000 plus parts just because of this, and all not through any, as Dr. Raghunandan would say, not through any L1 syndrome, but from a source which would give us quality, because there was no excuse about the vendor being incompetent. You are going to choose the vendors and you are responsible that quality is delivered. Basically, mistrust has not taken us far, and we must give trust a chance. I'm going to skip all these slides. But one that I definitely want to show you is very important. You see, there's this lip service about respecting women in workplace. Their system, in case any gender-based harassment, sexual harassment is reported, we have this system of a Vishaka committee, a rigmarole of inquiry, deposement, and so on. It goes on, and rarely does the culprit really taken to task. We take it lightly. I said, I'm not going to take it lightly, neither are the officers who work for me. If I hear of such a case, I'll keep my ears and eyes open. Or if any of the officers hear of such a case, I don't want the victim to report anything. I don't want her to give any deposement. We want nothing from her. Absolutely nothing. All I need is 4 hours. 4 hours. after learning of the case to determine if the complaint is genuine. It's possible informally. And if the complaint is genuine, then I give myself only 4 more hours. Using the powers given by Government of India, mind you, I'll throw out the fellow in 4 hours, same day. Because the Government of India empowers you that if you are able to record that an inquiry is not possible in the case because so you can throw the fellow out. And we would record that an inquiry is not possible because we don't want to the victim relive the horror. We don't want the victim to relive that horror. As an administrator, I'm throwing the fellow out. He can go to court and seek justice, so-called justice. The impact was that those 15% employee of Chennai-based integral coach factory, some of them came forward that we were also appointed as technicians, but we are being made to work as helpers. So separate gangs, it was not segregation, empowerment. Separate gangs were made for them to compete with men in lighter work, computer, plumbing, furniture making, the furnishing of coaches, electronic lab, other labs, and so on. What I show you is 29 Chennai women aged 23 to 57 through heavy welding, lifting, fitting work, building a coach, railway coach entirely on their own. And the pride in their work can be seen in the picture on the right when they dressed up like, it was all over the media, like Air Force pilots, and their output, if not better, was certainly equal to that of men. So frailty, thy name is not woman, Mr. Hamlet. I'm sorry, maybe it was in Denmark at that time. It's not at all anywhere in the world, and particularly in India. A little bit about more of the same. So every time we exported to Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka is an example. We always, exported coaches to certain countries which take Indian line of credit. And we were the whipping boys because our coaches would be placed next to the Chinese. And for aesthetics, technology, we would be the whipping boys. This time we told this Chennai team that whatever is going to Sri Lanka better be the best in that class. And we are capable. That really excited them. I'll not go into the detail except that last year, 3.5 years after retirement, I was in Sri Lanka in some other project, and I met those guys out of curiosity, those Sri Lankan engineers. And what you see at the bottom most picture is the DMUs we had sent them, and they said this time whatever India has sent them is superior to the Chinese trains in technology as well as aesthetics. So you know what a train set is. Basically, train has a lot of coaches and locomotives attached, detached as per requirement, but a train set has no locomotives. Every equipment is mounted under the floor. You can mount more equipment, more acceleration. Nothing is mounted over the floor. It's all for passengers except 2 cabs. You can go from one end to another through a sealed gangway, unlike the vestibule we have today. It has less number of coaches because there's no rickety noise-making power car anymore. That equipment is also under the board. No locomotive, more energy efficient. Reversal is not a problem. All those advantages, but still we don't have them because it was going through a series of procrastination and interdepartmental warfare and whatnot. Maybe in question and answer, I'll come to that. Always there is an import lobby as well for obvious reasons. So for 30 years, the debate was going on whether we need train sets or not. At this stage, when I was heading this factory, which is arguably, in terms of numbers, is one of the biggest in the world. So you see, we all have so many concerns because things don't work. But we have that little dot of influence which we forget. That's why I recall this Chinese saying which says, never curse darkness all over the world. Try to light your own little torch, your own little candle to remove darkness around you. And then the question of what the people's president said about dream. I always say that we old people always tell our youngsters that go and live your dream. Having not lived our dream ourselves, we tell them. So I always say, don't go and live your dream. Don't go and live in your dream. But never, never, never let your dream extinguish. Let it linger. An opportunity will come your way to realize it. And that's the time that this dream should not let you sleep. Live your life otherwise. And that time for me to light my own torch and to realize my dream had come. And if I did not do anything about it at this stage, then it was not a dream, it was a pipe dream. So I had a great, I thought some dream, I thought the vision. I had the fortune of a wonderful team bequeathed to me, as I said. Engineers raring to go, bored, doing more of the same, ennui written on their forehead, with chutzpah and audacity to try something out of the box. All I needed was to channelize that energy. Opportunity as a platform of this great factory was accorded to me, but there were some doubts. I'll not go into all of them. There was one doubt that, well, you may be a very powerful GM. You can spend whatever money you want. This government has empowered the GMs, indeed. But still, it's a new type of train. There'll be no locomotive. It will run at 180 kilometers per hour. New type of train. So you need a sanction from the board, which was not forthcoming because of jealousy, babudam, requirement to import, all those things. So I went and met the chairman and asked him why not giving us the sanction. And he was saying, I think you can do it, but other board members are not permitting me to do it. I said, you are the chairman. And I told him, you import whatever you want. Who am I to stop you? But give me sanction for just 2 trains and we will build it at 1/3 the cost of import. He wavered. And then I did something which people asked me whether I actually did it. I grabbed his feet and I said, I'm not leaving it till you give me the sanction. Now, Mr. Mittal, the chairman, is no more. God bless his soul. So it's between him and me whether I actually touched his feet. But that's not the issue. I mean, to really know the answer, you'll have to go up and find out from him. But the spirit was simple. You see, there's a difference between, and a big difference between, I mean, same thing can give you a lot of pride and it can also give you a lot of vanity. Pride enhances you. You look at everyone with happiness, feel good. Vanity diminishes you because you belittle others to elevate yourself. By grabbing his feet, I was enhancing my pride because I'll go back with the sanction to my people to start work. And by grabbing his feet, I was only killing my vanity, which one of you would kill in any case someday. Why not? I kill it myself today. So there I am. I come back with the sanction and I tell the same thing people. And they said, we will be spending 200 crores. If the train doesn't work, first time ab initio, we are going to do a work like this. Will be the scapegoat. So I said, you see, recalling what I told you earlier, recalling the words of my uncle Shakespeare, that our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. Unless you attempt, you will not succeed. Let's attempt it here to make sure that any outcome, sub-optimal outcome of the train will not hamper your progress towards the ultimate goal. That helped. I even tell IIMs and IITs when I go there, particularly IIMs, that we should not teach case studies of successes. We should teach case studies of failures, because failures have more learning, which will help people succeed much more than that. We engage consultants simply because not knowing something is not shameful. Pretending to know everything is. Out of 150 items that go into making a train, we made a matrix. 3 items where we thought we were not there. We engaged consultants, not companies, because we didn't want anybody looking for supplies in future. Only designed to hold our hands, to make us capable through know-how and know-why, sitting with us. Every line that they draw, every word that they write, sitting with us, so that next time I want to make a train of 200 kilometers per hour, 220 kilometers per hour. We will not need them, but do it on our own. That's what my uncle has described, as being a witty fool than a foolish wit. Because a fool does think he is a wise man, but a wise man knows himself to be a fool. It's better to accept that you are a fool and learn from wiser counsel. You can also teach people so many things, but there are so many who can teach you so much. Last thing before I end the story was the fact that a project of this magnitude, and all of you would realize, if you do it systematically from concept to delivery, it's a series working, it is not parallel working. It's a matter of 36 to 42 months. But I would have retired in December 18, and my team said, what if the next person leader drops the project? Where would we be? So I said, the only solution is we work like hard-working Indians that we are. I underline hard-working Indians that we are, and we have that stamp all over the world, and do something which has never been done in the world earlier. And that is, we turn out the train before I retire in 2018 itself. And to remind everyone that the train is going out in 2018, we will give it a name. We will call it Train 18. After that, it was only a matter of hitches, glitches, synergy, and solutions. A long story of 18 months. One example here, the key meetings, including with foreign consultants and everyone, was not done in air-conditioned rooms, but right there in Chennai heat, right where the train was being built, so that everyone got the message that we were here in this project together. As I said, fortune favors the brave. Finally, it did get done exactly in 18 months, and it was turned out in a ceremony in October 2018. 5,000 to 6,000 family members of ICF were there. Why? Because the factory had turned out 60,000 coaches by then. Why? Because they looked at the baby as their own baby, as what Indians had made for Indians themselves entirely. And it was turned out, it tested at 180 kilometers per hour with flying colors, was introduced by the Prime Minister himself as the Vande Bharat Express between Varanasi and New Delhi. There was some negativity for 3 years, which we don't talk about, but today, as many as 34 are running, starting August 22, after the 2 we had made. Nearly 4 years of trouble-free service, except one case of failure, which is more than 6 sigma. And there are 3 things that I would say here. First, it was just a train, not a Mangalyaan or Chandrayaan or a missile or a rocket to get the kind of love and appreciation the team, particularly me, we got from people of India, travelers, non-travelers alike, was very surprising for us. As I said, just a train. But the Prime Minister has captured it well when he says every time from the 15th August, from ramparts of Retd, and he's there to launch each and every train. I could never imagine that a train can get that kind of respect. And he says that the train represents the spirit of resurgent and aspirational India. Second thing, as I say here, as my uncle has said, things were not done, but the joy, soul, ladies and gentlemen, lies in the doing. I had that joy in those days in 17 and 18, but every time good people like Dr. Raghunandan invite me to speak about it, it gives me an opportunity to relive that joy. So thank you very much. And I conclude by saying that 1 million such projects are possible in this country of startups, if I can say, or otherwise. Million such projects are possible in this country. All it needs, leadership with passion, empathy, and a sense of purpose. Thank you very much.
It was mind-boggling. I think, I've heard the story many times, and even like later on to hear it once again is there. So I have a few questions, in fact, but before that, can I just summarize what you spoke in like a couple of
Absolutely.
minutes? Great.
Yes, yes.
So, because I
Sure.
think we got into the story, but I think there were a lot of learnings that you gave, especially when you were quoting your uncles, the Shakespeare, Dante, as well as Kabir. with equal panache. I mean, very few people would do that, recite couplets from Ghalib and Kabir and go back to Shakespeare at the same time. I'm amazed. Uh, so I think a few things. Number one is that you mentioned that again resonates with one of Sadhguru's saying, a human is not a resource, it is a possibility. So I think a lot of what you said stem from that, starting with you, of course. The leader is also a human resource for the organization. How the leader thinks begins with how he acts, begins with how the others act to mimic, and then it's, I think, magic, because it can just multiply like anything. The second, what I like for you to say is that you cannot punish, because punishment is actually not really helpful to the organization's team building capability. You either reform or else you throw out. And coming from a government organization which has a lot of unions and hundreds of other problems, if you're able to do it, I don't see why a private enterprise should find that difficult. And I completely go with that. The idea month that you talked about was a great initiative. I think everybody, even if we do keep our ears open to our people, and then when we steal our people's ideas and implement it and give them credit for it, I think it is one of the best pat on the backs you can ever give anybody there. The mistrust and distrust that India has, for so many years, is again, a lot of it is because of our own selves. Because as businessmen are supposed to have a bad name, but not every businessman is bad. It's also like saying
Yeah.
that every terrorist is coming from somewhere, but that's not a generalization that's possible. The last but not the least, your take on case studies, being talking about the failures that happened rather than just the successes, because case studies by default, everybody talks about winning horse and never about the lessons that are learned during losing. So but from that angle, not knowing something is not shameful. Pretending to know everything is. Closing out at the beautiful talk that you gave, sir. It is not just a train. It has given wheels, literally, to the aspirations of hundreds and thousands of Indians, countrymen, who understood that going and just doing contract work for other people is just not enough. We have our own product. We have our own IPR. We have our own brilliant world-class made in India systems to give out, is what it goes through. So on behalf of everybody who heard you, I think, a big, big, big salute. And more importantly, thank you for being the son of Mother India that you are, and inspiring countless more. So that's
My
that.
pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Kind words.
It's very,
Very
very
kind.
beautiful. Some questions, very right from the time when we said that you're going to be there. And one was that, you worked basically for the government of India because you were a government servant, so to speak. Nobody told you to really stick your neck out and go for a project of this sort. So what gave you that? And of course, like unlike in the private sector where there might be, promotions or bonuses or whatnot. In your case, there would not really be. I mean, I'm surprised that the government, even though the prime minister goes and inaugurates every train of Vande Bharat that comes through, I am still not addressing you as Padma Bhushan Sudhanshu Mani, but that's another story altogether. But what kept you motivated to even think that genesis of the idea and to take that forward? Because I think that is a big one where all our leaders should understand that it's not just what you're told to do, but what you can do.
Yeah. Okay. So you see, I'll perhaps disappoint some of you by talking of cliches, but these are not cliches for me. I'll tell you certain things which all of us are told, but I learned it from my seniors as well. I saw it in practice with certain individuals which I saw. For example, let's say honesty. Now, everyone expects, nobody teaches one's children to be dishonest, right? Even if you are greatly dishonest. But the great value of honesty you only realize with time. Right? In government service example, perhaps in other sectors as well. If you are dishonest, you earn those dishonest wealth, you save it for enjoying it after retirement or something like that. Because you would be always suspicious. Uh, so let me uh, to make things easier. You see, I will again go back to my uncles. One is very simple words, but you cannot find anything. I mean, very simple word, but uh, they are absolutely the crux. What is one is no legacy is as rich as honesty, and virtue is bold and goodness never fearful. Both from Shakespeare. And at the same time, third, suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. You see, that wealth that you think you'll enjoy, you'll never be able to enjoy. In any case, after retirement, there's not much that you can really do with that wealth, and it's just stacked up. So it's so useful. Whereas the honesty that you have accumulated can be such a help. When there was a negativity, all of us, the team, felt that there's nothing that we have done wrong. We have only gone to do something for the country, and there really no wrong can come our way, and that's how it happened. Well, that was little off the question you asked. It is simply lying in that thing about things one are done, but the joy so lies in the doing. There's a great joy in doing something which is good for the country, community, or whatever. And that joy cannot be replaced by any incentive or award or any recognition and so on. And if you're truthful, you see, recognition would come your way. Government recognition may or may not come because there are so many factors involved, jealousies, other protocols, so many things involved. But for example, take this example. I mean, I'll again say it was just a train, right, which a handful of railwaymen came to. It was no invention. It existed in the world. You only said we will design our own, source our own, as long as far as possible from the country, put it together and give it to the country. That's all we did. But the look at the appreciation and recognition and love that I get from people like you, is that not reward in itself? So let me tell you, the answer is very simple. If you give something your commitment and passion, success is yours. And I'm sure we have tasted success, not because the train is running very well, but the way people have reacted to it, far beyond our expectation. What more can you ask?
For somebody who's not traveled on the Vande Bharat Express, I'm sure there are quite a few people who not gone. They might actually begin to maybe think that, that this is some visuals from a foreign train. And that is exactly what you talked about, the way it was conceptualized, designed, manufactured, as well as it is running. It is fantastic and wonderful. So do you think we can design the next bullet train in India?
Yeah, wonderful question, actually. Very good. Now, let me stick my neck out again. You see, let's be, as my uncle has said, let's be a witty fool. Let's not be a bragging, foolish wit. So we did something good. We made a good design. We're happy making it. We tried to do our best. We were not able to do the best in certain areas, but we did extend ourselves to do this. Fair enough. We are happy with what we did, but to think that we are the cat's whiskers and we have made a world-class train, no. First attempt. Keep in mind that in 1964, good 60 years before you made this train, Japan made a 210 kilometers per hour train, which is Shinkansen. So 60 years hence, you make a 180 kilometers per hour train, which is extendable to maybe 200 kilometers per hour. But keep your sights clear that you are going there, but you have not reached there. So we were not world class now. And that's very necessary. You see, if today we say, I saw this comparison between Vande Bharat and Bullet. Just because Vande Bharat, you pack a lot of equipment, it gathers speed and it gathers speed quickly, and it gathers at the same level as a bullet train. So now you say we have equal bullet train is so foolish. because there is a certain level of acceleration for comfort you can provide in a train. You just cannot go on at a rocket speed. So what I'm trying to say, you must be grounded to know where you are so that you can improve. Coming to bullet train, let me tell you very clearly, a 350 kilometers per hour train, I don't think we are capable in the country today. I mean, it is actually at the what I call mindlessly global. We are there, but 5 years have passed since we made this train, so we should be attempting to reach there, right? That unfortunately I don't think is happening. What we need to do is put this ICF team and industry. You see, by the way, industry has come up far better than railways, private industry, because they are not shackled by bureaucracy. A lot of things we sourced was predicated on commitment and sincerity of the private sector out there for the pride, not for making money. And we have such companies. I'm sure yours is one too. So engage them and put these people to design a train to run at not 350, 240 kilometers per hour. And there's a reason why I say it. The real threshold of high speed of bullet starts at 250. So let's aim for 240 right now. Where will it run? We don't have tracks above 160 kilometers per hour. Yes, but the Japanese are building you a track between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, or rather, we are building it with their assistance, where 350 kilometer per hour train would run, which we cannot make, but we should be able to make 240 ones and ask them that during slack time, so that my trains don't slow your trains, permit me, and it is my railway, my money, maybe a loan, but basically my money. So permit kya? You have to permit us to run our trains at that time and let us try out these 240 kilometers per hour train. Let that be our goal. And let it be done in next, let's say, 5 years.
Right.
So we would have covered quite a distance. And then next step would be to design a bullet train, to answer your question. But unless we start now, I would say we are already late. And we won't reach there. We are not going to reach there if we only go through a screwdriver technology to manufacture the bullet train given by Japanese. We will never be able to make our own train unless we start now.
Correct.
That must start. Unfortunately, I don't see any movement that direction, but
right.
I hope it does.
But at least on this train, sir, do you think that we reached an indigenization level of at least 85%? That was a few of the comments that people put in.
Right. You see, trains, let me clarify. The other trains that we were making, there the indigenization level was roughly already 90% or more, actually. Right? So here, because there were many things which are not made in India, like the seats. Aircrafts type seats, not as good as aircraft, I would say. There's no manufacturer in India. Wheels, we cannot make all of them because of lack of capacity, not technology. So we reached 80%, which has further increased now. It's perhaps between 85 to 90 now. So indigenous component itself is important, but not that important. More important, I come back to the same issue, is the brain, the design, the creativity, the specification, the drawings should be all yours. That means it is entirely your product. Now, where I source a particular component to my design can be, I don't mind going global, but I mind when the mind goes global, that's a problem. The mind should remain in India.
Right. Awesome. Great. So just because I think few guys were also asking, material handling is also a major issue that the railways faces. Absolutely. Do I have a permission just show 2 minutes what we do?
Of course. Okay. Your floor, totally.
So so we always question the norms just like that at Nandan GSE. Over the last 32 years, we're transforming aspiration into inspiration, systems into ecosystems. I feel like a younger version of you now. A lot of stories that you said we do use here. So we are based in Navi Mumbai. In a total, we have about 1 lakh square feet of factory space. We have 250 people, all employees, because I don't have even a single person on contract. My father, Mr. J.C. Kumar, started it in 1991 in a very humble and small way. And I joined him. And, after studying in the US came back with a little worldview. And today we are with a great team. We are there in 25 countries. We are exporting. Yes, we make in India. Each and every product that we make is ours. And we are able to go out and help other customers just like you in aviation, aerospace and defense systems, material handling inside factories for truck and container loading, unloading, etc. And we are delivering this in a big way. A lot of coaching, training, developing, mentoring we do with our team. A lot of learning that goes across. And yes, we my our big father is not the railway board, so yes, we have a little more flexibility compared to what you had. But yes, we've been doing a few systems that have gone across, and we built the commonality in both our thinking was, I think, the excellence, because a made in India product, just because we are cheap, will not curry favor in the world today. However cheap we are, people will pay double and go for what they want to buy. And the Chinese or the Koreans or anybody else, though we might find it good, in barroom talks to say that, oh, Chinese quality is bad. That's not really true, because even I have traveled on their high
Not true.
speed networks and they are fantastic.
Not true at all.
And I think looking at because the bottom down approach, that is from zero, you begin to design something, it will take a long time. And hence, I think the jump that you took saying, let's not do incremental, let's look at the best what is there and take it forward from there within our own resources, of course. I think it's a very, very prudent measure you mentioned, saying we are not capable of making the bullet train, because everybody would say nationalistically, like, next, the bullet train would be ours. But maybe the next, it will not take 20 years, but maybe 10 years, we should be there. So that's,
Right,
I
very
think,
right.
summarizing. There are the audience has
I
real.
will I will permit me to
Sure.
add two things to you. Good that you brought out. First thing was you brought out the downside of bureaucracy, which you, as your own boss, don't face. Very right. But there is one luxury I had, or railway people have, or government people have, which you don't have. And that luxury is that government and railways, for example, has a top line, but there's no bottom line, right? Imagine the luxury of working in a system where you don't have a bottom line. If you cannot innovate in a system like this, where would you go and innovate? So you keep blaming the private sector that they don't do enough R&D, they don't innovate and so on. Fair enough, they don't that much, but they have a bottom line to watch for. In government, you don't have that bottom line. And number two, what you said about the Chinese. So you see, in World War II time, Japan was starting on the path we are on, or China was on 30 years back, right? They had a good manufacturing base already. But the shoddy goods that they made were, the synonym of shoddy goods was Japani mal. And where have they reached? Starting 50s, the very synonym of quality product is Japanese. Number two, do you hear the word chini mal anymore? I don't that much. That phrase is going out of circulation because chini mal is no longer poor quality. Chini mal is their own product designed by them of good quality. That's where they have reached in last 15, 20 years.
Correct.
So we are at that cusp. If we don't take the bull by the horn and only depend on, making a factory manufacturing goods, like even let me not name a country, name a small country in neighborhood or beyond. They can also do it. So where is the brain there? Where is the Indian brain in it? That's the time for us to think, and in next 10 to 15 years, make products in India which would be of global quality. And trial and error. And for that, government, not only it doesn't have its own bottom line, the government is the biggest spender also. It has to give you, those in private sector, a skewed platform, skewed in your favor and not in favor of foreigners. Spend money and let you innovate. If the government does this much and the private sector does not respond, then I'll hold private sector squarely guilty, but not at this stage, not that much. I would hold the larger private sector a bit responsible, like I can name Reliance and Tata and so on. They have much more muscle to innovate. I don't think they do that much. But you see, China has 150 MSMEs, 150 million MSMEs. Can you believe that? And their 60% of GDP is from MSMEs. 50% of tax revenue is from MSMEs. 70% of exports are from MSMEs. And 75% of employment is from MSMEs. So government has to recognize through their spending, give orders, and then only we'll
Make
reach
payments
value.
and make
Yeah, and make payments in time without
so
bribery.
that is terrific. So I think this will reach a lot of MSME owners because primarily they are in a position today and in Amrit Kal and the India that we are today economically, politically, we are at a cusp. I think we've not been in this kind of a position ever. So there is no background history that we can talk and lament about. And to take it forward, we have a great engineering as well as people base that's available in the country to give gainful employment to them is, I think, a great opportunity and honor. And together we will take that forward with the blessings of people like you who have been the trendsetters who did not sit and complain, but instead took the bull by the horns and left a legacy behind. Because trust me, that is the part of human endeavor, I think, is to leave legacy behind. It's not about riches, like you said, but most of us are stuck in the roti kapada makan part of the Maslow's pyramid. So people don't move up at all. But I think the India of today is changing. And thanks to people like you, it is, I think,
On a on a
it will
on
go up.
a on a lighter note, do we have time? I'll
I
take you
think
2, 3
the
minutes.
last 2 minutes, yes, sure.
Last 2 minutes.
Last, okay. I think
No, are
whoever,
you not? Are you not taking questions from the chat? We
so
can
yeah,
if
so
you have time.
I have
You
paraphrased.
you summarized all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
So
you're giving me 2 minutes. Let me see if I can finish this
no,
joke
no,
in two
no.
minutes.
So let's
No,
just put this
it's
on.
just a
Uh,
joke from what you said, and that was about uh, kind of drawing, some kind of consultancy kind of thing from people like me who are now old and spent. And you also said bull. So I'm reminded of this story where, there was an enclosure with a lot of cows there, and a bull came by. And he wanted, obvious reasons, he wanted to get in, but there were barbed wires. So he was, he measured a distance that I'll start running from point X, come at this speed at point Y, then take a jump and clear the barbed wire and go inside. As he was doing these calculations, another older bull came by. He said, "So this is what you're trying to do here? Measure, come and jump from here and so on." He said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, that's good calculation that you're doing." So this younger bull asked him, "So you are also bull? Didn't you also want to do the same thing? Run, jump, and land among the cows?" So the older bull said, "Yes, no, I did also. I also did the same thing. I also made similar calculation and made my jump. I was clearing the barbed wire almost entirely, except that my behind got stuck, and now I am a consultant."
no. So that's I think as far as good consultants are concerned, that's not likely at all. So it's a lighter joke taken
Yeah,
well. So I have a bunch of questions which I will summarize any which ways, but I think I've covered most of them. A
covered
lot
it.
of them had to
Fair
do with
enough.
government, the L1 criteria, etc., which you covered in most of your cases. Because anyways, railways procurement cannot happen without L1, I believe, right?
No, what I told them, what they have done is given complete powers to the general managers, and what we are governed by what is called GCC. Uh, Sorry, General, Code of Finance or whatever. I forget which gives you a leeway to go to a single tender, which gives you a leeway to bypass a technically unsuitable L1 offer.
Correct.
But same thing that the system of mistrust and distrust means you will not take that initiative.
Correct.
You would
And
say, why take
after you
trouble?
retire, you'll have a bunch of cases put on you anyway.
Yeah, things like that during working or after retirement. So you take the path of least resistance and let quality go to hell. That's what happens. So yes and no. The answer is largely what you're saying is right. But there are people who are quality conscious. For example, in your country, metros are more quality conscious. They are also government, semi-government, whatever. They are PSUs. They don't buy shoddy stuff as much as railways do. That's a fact
Correct.
of the matter. So, but the system I am recommending is if we place complete trust, powers are given, trust is not given. So you have the
Correct.
power to overrule it too, but the trust is not there. So you are afraid to take that decision. In this particular case, we could place that trust on these two chief design engineers, and they used it to the hilt, and that was beneficial. But
Okay.
yes, unless the culture changes, people would not venture out and do that.
So the last question, okay, and this I think is the most impactful one. If you had to give 3 factors for the success of your leadership, 3 factors only, what would they be?
Now, number one is I learned a lot, great deal of things. Whatever I have lectured was not what I was when I started my career. I evolved thanks to great leaders that I worked with. There's no point in naming them. You meet very poor leaders, average leaders, but you meet exceptional leaders as well. Not many, but some. There's a lot to learn from them, and I was able to assimilate that, and that helped me, number one. Number two, against the cliche, I'm largely an idealist man, but I was always able to do out of the box things only because I listened. And that too, something that I learned over the years, that, this vanity that you are in the chair, so you know everything, is totally useless. It will not take you anywhere. Just listening to people. And then you listen to 10 people. You are idealist in a job. You don't know what this job entails. You call 10 people just below you and give them a platform to speak to you, either collectively or singularly. And you have an idea bank. Now you pick up whatever you want. Your agenda is created for your tenure. See, you did nothing. You had no idea. You came here and you are there now on the chair with a lot of ideas. So number two is just listening to people. Everyone has ideas, must listen to them. And third is, of course, something similar, but empathy, love, trust, teamwork. And again, something I learned from everyone. But without that, no organization is going anywhere. You can do some successful things, but unless your people are with you, you won't get that 110% from them. And for that, you have to really build that love inside you. It's not natural, but as a leader, you have to do it, and it's possible.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This is the first episode of Kindle Chats that I've relaunched. And what a honor it is to be talking to Mr. Sudhanshu Mani,
My
the
pleasure.
founder of the Train 18, India's pride for the whole world. Thank you so much for these valuable lessons, sir. I'll keep a little place where they can put in some comments for you. And I will
Sure,
compile all
absolutely.
of them and send them to you for the love that they would share for you too.
Absolutely. I don't know if you have my email, but I can give
I
you
do.
my
I will
email.
put it up and send it in an email to all
Yeah,
of them.